And I do want to welcome our Steve Fretzin, and he's got a great podcast that many of you already listen to called Be That Lawyer, for people who want to be the lawyer who is spoken of well. And it's very, very popular in a lot of different places, and so is he. You've probably seen him speaking in various different places, and he's a wonderful friend to the show and to the tribe. And so here at the Inspiring Victory podcast show, welcome. We're glad to have you here, Steve. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Sarah.
Oh, great. Well, I wanted to ask you a bunch of questions because you've done some interesting things. You've built a business that really works for you and also works for your clients. You know, it works for your lifestyle, making sure that family's a priority. How did you manage to grow this so successfully and keep that sophisticated balance going?
A lot of mistakes. And I've talked to you about them over the last 15 years, just all the different ways that I've tried to develop this business and branching out and looking at shiny pennies and going and scaling out other businesses and not keeping focus and things that all led me back to where I am today now, almost 20 years in, where I've got a really, like you said, a really great business. I have no employees. I have one virtual assistant, high profit, low overhead type of business. And I have, just very few responsibilities other than to my clients and to making sure that I continue to generate great content for the legal population that's interested in business development and growing a law practice.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you really zeroed in on where you can be of most value. And you have managed to make it, like you said, very high profit, very low margin business, and also a lifestyle thing. Because I know when we first got started, you talked a lot about how so many speakers and authors, as you are, tromp around the world. I'm obviously in Europe right at the moment, so I do a lot of that. But, you really wanted to be at home with your family as much as you could. And so you centered right around your region, which is my region too, Chicago. How were you able to zone in on Chicago and create the kind of value that you're creating for that market?
Yeah, I think originally because of the live aspect of coaching and training in Chicago, I had a class, that I would teach lawyers business development and do coaching in my office. And, I could throw a rock on LaSalle Street and probably hit a lawyer. So I didn't really have to go too far to find business outside of Chicago, although I did. And I did some travel and I did a lot of keynotes and speaking. And when COVID hit, as awful as COVID was for a lot of us, it opened up the world because we didn't have to jump on a plane and we didn't have to stay locked into a city. And so I started doing almost all my business and coaching and prospecting and all of that over Zoom. And I ended up getting clients in all over the country. So now when I look at my class and I went through my list that I work with currently, only 2 of them are actually in Chicago, in the Chicagoland area. So it's been amazing to be able to have, 7 to 10 meetings a day by Zoom versus in the city. When I travel into the city, have to leave the city. If I had 3 meetings in a day, I'd consider that a really good day. And today that would be like the slowest day of my week. So it's really changed the way that I've been able to function and the way I've been able to develop and provide value for the legal community in some of the areas that they weren't taught in law school and they really struggle with, in realizing that client development is probably the second most important thing they need to do other than being great, right? Be great first, and then you need your own clients. You can't sit and just work on everyone else's stuff and expect that's going to go on for the rest of your career, 30, 40-year career.
It's true. It's true. I mean, we really can't give a lot of value to a lot of clients if you don't have a lot of clients to give value to. And it isn't something that's taught in law school. I don't think law schools are standing around going, let's give you some business development courses so you can know how to build a book of business. It's not taught. And so you get these lawyers who really think, well, I thought they would just stampede to my door and then are shocked that they're, they may be the best on their block or in their city or in their state, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily getting business. And I think you do a really great job of bridging that gap for them, of showing them how to be leaders and how to build a network and how to get referrals. And that never ending stream of referrals you are so famous for is a big part of being successful as in any business. What is the number one secret that you have for getting referrals? Because we have people obviously watching and listening that have businesses and want more referrals. What's one way that people can really expand the number of referrals that they're getting?
I feel like the biggest deficiency that business professionals have in that space is not developing strong enough relationships with their past and existing clients to go after those referrals, or they get into what we call the friend zone, where they feel like now they're friends with their client, or they're friends with people who probably could throw a lot of work their way, and they just can't broach the subject. So I've worked on a number of very simple and specific and direct ways to make the ask without ever feeling salesy, without ever feeling like you're taking advantage. And lawyers love it because they're just so surprised at how open their clients are to getting them in front of other good people when they have a solid approach to and language to use to get that business. Because meeting a stranger and developing the relationship and getting a referral from someone that you network with, that's, not only more challenging, but it also can take a lot more time, and they're not going to have the same story as a happy client would have.
Right. And trust takes a long time. I mean, and it should. People are smart to take time to learn to see how somebody behaves in real life versus what it is that they say. What do you tell people to say to their clients to keep them out of the friend zone and remind them that they are expanding their business? They do need help in that expansion, and that the clients are the ones that can help them too.
Yeah, I mean, for the professionals that are in the friend zone, one of the best things you can do is stop talking about the weather and the traffic and the kids, and start getting into asking questions about your friend's business, your client's business, outside of the work that you've done or outside of the typical norm. And, what's their growth plans? What are their greatest challenges? What are they, what is going on? Get the deeper story. And typically what's going to happen is they're going to open up to you as a friend about problems they're having, goals they want to achieve. Some of that might relate to where you can help them, and some of that could relate to them giving you business, or that you could solve a problem directly. That's really more about getting a friend to do business with you. If we're talking about like clients you've worked with before, and let's say you're uncomfortable approaching them with that because you feel like, hey, they already paying my bills, I don't want to overstep. I do what's called, this is a simple psychological thing called okay, not okay. And like, Sarah, if you knew that I wasn't feeling okay today for this podcast, you'd probably, oh, I'm so sorry. And have you thought of taking some Tylenol? Did you want to go get some tea before we start? Do you want to reschedule? You want to make me feel good because you're my friend and you care about me. And so if you're uncomfortable asking for an introduction, just admit it and say, look, there's something, Sarah, I've been meaning to ask you. It goes against my grain and it's not something I'm comfortable with, but I have a business like you and I really need to continue to drive it up. And I was wondering if you'd even be open to talking about some possible, connections we could make for each other that might be beneficial outside of the typical work that we do. I'd love to find 5 more clients like you, Sarah, that I could help in a similar fashion, and just watch what happens. Wait and zip it up and zip your lip and wait. And the person's going to say, yeah, I would love to help you. What can I do? Who do you want to meet? And there's more steps to it after that point. You actually have to walk them through and get to names and all that, how the introduction is going to be made. But I think it's just getting that at bat is really where lawyers and other professionals struggle.
I think that's very, very common. I learned an interesting psychological phenomenon. I've been reading up on this quite a bit in the last 6 months or so. And that is that people that do a favor for you are 17 times more likely to do more business with you, do business or do more business with you than people who haven't done a favor for you, haven't helped you. Because we have this psychological feeling in our head of, if I help somebody, I must really like them. So even if it's still early and they aren't sure how much they like you, it triggers that. And if you are a good human being who deserves that and will take good care of that referral or that business that they send your way, it really solidifies the business. And I used to think that, the more I helped other people, the more they would want to reciprocate. And they do. Most good people do. But two things go wrong. One is you have to be incredibly specific about what you're looking for in terms of demographic, psychographic. Like, what are you actually looking for? And the other thing is that you do have to ask, and you have to find graceful way to do that. And I think the truth is a powerful force. I think candor is always lovely. And I love that you say, let people say, hey, I'm really not good at this, or hey, I'm so uncomfortable, but I'm growing my business just like you, and I could really use your help. But I think leading with, hey, I'm expanding my business and I can use your help is a great line that I love to tell people to use, because you can be expanding your business from zero. No one needs to know, but it is powerful to say, I'm expanding my business and I need your help. I'm looking for, 3 people like this in the next 6 months. And here's the, this demographic and this emotional component to them. But like attracts like too. Don't you notice that the people that your favorite clients, all their friends are just like them. And most people are just not, they assume that everybody knows that they need more business. But I found a lot of people don't know you need more business.
Right.
They'll shock. Oh, I thought you had more than you could possibly stand. And that's something most people don't realize. And they don't keep it top of mind. They're not sitting, getting up every morning going, oh my gosh, I have to make sure Steve Fretzin gets more business. Well, I do, and most of your friends do, but no one else, So yeah, that's really interesting. But I love the candor idea, that just, I'm not great at this, or I need your help on this because I need to expand and I don't know how. And I think asking for advice is quite helpful. Hey, if you were growing my business, if you were my marketing department, you're super smart. What would you do? Who would you connect me to? Where do you think I should speak, or who should I work with, or whatever it is you're trying to get more of? I like that. That's really clever. All right. What is the thing that you said that you've made mistakes along the way? I think you don't find a successful business that hasn't done a few things that didn't work. That's how you learn what does work. What are things that you think people shouldn't do that universally just doesn't seem to ever go well?
I think it's good to try things. I think if you're gonna try something or potentially fail at something, fail small, right? Don't put everything on the line, that could ruin what you're, developing. So like, I started a sales training company and then found a need for sales recruiting. So I started that company. And then I found that, hey, the owners and the managers I'm working with need executive coaching. Well, I'll start that business. And then I had a networking website, and I have to run that business. And I'm investing in all these businesses. I've got multiple people, multiple offices, all these moving parts. And guess what? I'm unhappy because I'm not really doing what I love to do. I'm managing all these different companies, managing all these people. I never knew about finding someone that could work, as my lieutenant or manage this stuff. So I'm just doing everything, wearing every hat. And if I had to do it over again, I still like that I made mistakes. However, now I would go back and I'd say, no, we're going to build one company, and we're going to build it in a way that I get to do what I love to do and where my passion is and where my superpowers are, and not try to do, everything, and really bring in the right people to surround me. And I don't need that now. Like I'm in a position where I've, as I mentioned earlier, like I've figured out like the best possible business for myself. That doesn't mean, at 53 years old, I may pivot at some point down the road.
Sure.
But for now, and for the next, for the foreseeable future, the way that I'm adding value, the way that I'm able to your point, have a little bit of a lifestyle business where I can spend quality time with my family and do the sports and the passions that I have, and also, run a really successful company. That's all exists. I think there's a lot of people that would love to be in the position that I'm in. Keep in mind, it's been 19 years. It's also been, there's been ups and downs the whole time. I'm just getting, my stride now in a way.
You've always done pretty well, but I think you've really found a way to make it work for you. 20 28 years this November for me. And yeah, it's the same thing. I love when people say, I want to be you. Like, well, wait 28 years, you'll be fine. Make a lot of mistakes. Everything will be great. But you want to we want people to learn from the mistakes of others. They don't have time to make them all themselves. So that is a great one. Yeah, I think diversifying too quickly is something I see a lot of our clients do, especially they want to grow, they want to acquire other businesses, or they want to expand. And like you said, they don't have a person who can run that business. And there's a big difference between being the person that can do the work, and the person that is the visionary, and the person that can run things. If you don't have somebody who can run that division or that secondary business, or secondary or tertiary business in some cases, it can be quite disastrous. So it's finding those great people and making sure that, you're right, you're not giving up your whole lifestyle for something that may not even be profitable. So absolutely. Yeah, well put. Very well put. What advice do you give up and coming talented people, attorneys in your case, but what advice do you give them about how they can grow quickly? Obviously, we talk here at Inspiring Victory podcast about how do you double your business, double your impact, and change the world, make a positive impact, which I know you care about too. But on the growth side, what advice do you give up and coming folks about how they can grow, how they can expand?
Well, I mean, before I even get to my answer, if you're not an expert in an area that you need to develop, like marketing, business development, social media, time management, you need to work with someone who can help you, right? So that supports what you and I do every day. However, and every successful person, a CEO, an athlete, they all have coaches. They all have people that know things they don't know and can help them develop. So that's kind of like a preamble to my answer, which is I found like a simple 3 Ps operation is a way to go. So I'll just give an example. Like I'm working with lawyers, helping them put together a plan. So they're not just winging it. There's a plan of who are the targets, how are we going after them, how much activity do we need, what are we in? Okay, just in tracking it all and having that plan in place. If I'm going to go travel to, Italy, am I better off with the GPS or a map, or just kind of wandering around? Well, that's what people are doing. They're just wandering around. That's not a great way to go. The second P is process. Everything that's successful has a process. If you want to follow a recipe is a process. How the timing of how you cook things and put things in, and how you make wine or anything, it's all a process. So if any professional that wants to develop quickly is using a plan that says, here's the low-hanging fruit, here's the fastest way to get your goals, and now I've got systems and processes to follow that allow me to get there, that's going to be the first 2 Ps of this program. And then the last piece, performance improvement, which is, all right, so now I'm following a process. I'm not perfect, right? I'm still making mistakes using a process, but can I get feedback and can I learn and improve, learn and improve? And that's how you go from making great chili, if we're talking about back in the kitchen, to baking like blue ribbon chili at the state fair. What's the difference? Well, you tasted it and you made a change and you improved it. Then you tasted it and you made a change and improved it. And business development, marketing, if they're acting the same way in their 10th year as they are their first year, that's not going to bode well for them in their career. They've got to, get yelled at by the judge. They've got to have a negative verdict that pisses them off and upsets them to make the changes, to make those improvements, or to become a better CEO or whatever the situation is. But that's those 3 Ps, plan, process, and performance improvement have to me been instrumental in how I'm coaching to, be their best versions as fast as possible. So they actually internalize how to do things and know it, versus it kind of like they learn it and then it kind of skips away. I want them to have something they can count on throughout their career.
I think that's brilliant. And it does apply whether you're it's not just what you get, it's who you become. And at a certain point, you have to start focusing also on, who am I becoming? Am I becoming a person that, I'm proud of? Am I becoming a person that my family can be proud of? Am I a person? Am I the leader? If you're a leader, as both of us are, am I leading with my best self, and am I bringing out the best in other people? And am I the leader that other people deserve, whether that's as a speaker, being a leader, or having a larger company? So that's really interesting. What would you say are the big changes that you've seen in the last, you said you've been doing this for 17, 18 years,
Yeah,
well,
about
a
19,
while.
about 10, 19 years.
Not
Yeah.
19. Yeah, okay. I was thinking 2 years ago. I'm behind on the 19 years. So what are some of the changes that you're seeing, or where do you see things going or changing? I mean, obviously COVID had a big impact on all of us. It's changed it was very, very tragic and difficult. We all lost friends. However, there have been some positives. We are starting to see that we don't have to necessarily be in front of people to do a good job. I mean, there's been a lot of changes that way. But what else are you seeing in terms of how the questions that you're getting, the way things are changing, and where you think it's all going?
The good news is, for me, I get to, I do coaching and training for lawyers, but I also run some peer advisory groups, mastermind groups for lawyers called the Rainmaker Roundtables. And I get to hear what these managing partners and leaders of law firms are saying about the
Mm,
legal industry and about just the way that the world is right now. And it's very different than 10 years ago. I mean, we had a recession in 2008. I get it, and that we recovered, but the world has changed. You've got AI, you've got
mhm.
unrest all over the world, you've got pandemics, you've got high interest rates, you've got all kinds of things going on. And I think people need to really protect their relationships. I think that's one of the most important business lessons, that during good times and bad, you need to stay tight with your best relationships and be with the right people and get rid of negative people in your life and bring in positive people and maintain those, and understand that the world is going to continue to get weirder and crazier as we go. I don't think it's going to ever be stable. We're just, oh, everything's calm. No, I don't know that that's even a possibility based on, it's like putting the toothpaste back in the tube. I mean, so much craziness has gone on that we all need to just like adapt to it and prepare for it.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think it's always been crazy. I mean, I
It
think
has, but more, it just, I don't know. I mean,
probably in 1412, people are standing around going, "Wow, things are really wild here." But I think a lot. It seems faster now
yeah,
because of the speed of change. We are seeing it does seem like it's quicker, and the people who adapt rapidly, I think, are the ones that will do well, and that requires that personal growth and that business growth and learning a lot of skills and spending the time to do that growth work, which I see you really investing in. Um, Interesting. You're one of the best networkers and connectors I've ever met. I remember years ago when I first met you, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm not going to any more networking events. I'm not going to big conferences." And I know you speak at conferences, and that's a lot of how people know you and have certainly made you famous in the world and beyond. But what impressed me was that you had built this unbelievable network, and you knew how to tap that network and connect people to each other. So there really was the original idea of what networking was, which was there's this net that you have, and then I now have too, of people that are all helping each other. What That's very, very powerful, more powerful than most people realize. Your network really is your net worth. So what did you do to be able to impress me and others with this incredible network? How did you build that network where they are all giving you referrals, giving each other referrals, connecting to each other? How did you
yeah.
do that?
I appreciate the question. My second book is called The Attorney's Networking Handbook. And I start off that book saying, no one has wasted more time networking than I have. And I think back, right, Sarah, to like
Okay.
when I started out, I was meeting with everybody for an unlimited amount of time and trying to connect everybody when I didn't even have a network to connect. I ended up just like buying things from people. I'm getting life insurance from this guy. I'm getting, cosmetics from my wife, from the Avon lady. I'm getting all this stuff I had to do because I
Hey, that's
thought network.
you built a network. You got it. It was slow, but you did it. It's
Well,
you got to kiss a few frogs. We're back to that
there's,
friend zone dating
oh
thing that we were
yeah.
talking about earlier. Yeah.
But there's two important parts of building a network. One
Yeah.
is really building it wide with a lot of good people, right?
Hmm.
And then the other piece of it is building it deep. And the depth is where most of your business is going to come from, because those are the people that like, know, and trust you. You've referred them, they're your clients, and etc. And the wide is just, hey, people that you've met that you keep in touch with in a number of different ways. You don't have to spend a ton of more time with them, but they know you. And if something comes across their desk, they're more likely to think of you than someone else. But it's the depth that really made a big difference for me. So thinking about my network like I'm a baseball scout, right? I'm looking in the Dominican, I'm looking in Japan, I'm looking at the colleges and the high schools for talent, understanding that not every player is going to move up into my major league team. So how can I vet them, qualify them, be nice, be friendly, make friends, help people? Yes, but I don't want to spend all of my time with people that aren't directly related to who I can help and who can help me. And so it's really coming up with, who are my starters, who's my bench, and who's kind of around the field, and working it like that really made a lot of sense to me. And so now I've got, 10 or 15 people that I spend the lion's share of time with, that I refer me, and we're just great resources for each other. People that are in, for example, legal marketing, legal recruiters, folks that work in and around legal software and tech. I keep them very close because they're dealing with masses of lawyers, and we can collaborate. I have a meeting later today with one of my podcast sponsors about how we can collaborate to do presentations, get my audience in front of them, their audience in front of me. Those are things that can pay off big dividends. So I think it's and I hate to use the word qualifying, but I think we need to qualify to invest our time wisely. And so, using an acronym like TALENT, where it's, trust, and are they an authority? Can I trust them? Are they an authority? Are they likable? Are they empathetic? Do they have a big network? And are they a top player at their company or in their profession? And using an acronym like that helps me to, in my head, I'm working through, is this someone I want to continue to move upward into my middle, my team, or is this someone that I can keep in the middle, or someone I need to bail on? I mean, someone that right away tries to sell me stuff in the first 20 minutes of a conversation, they're not going to get off the field they're on in the Dominican. They're going to stay there because they're not moving into. I'm not going to move someone like that up because they don't get it. They're not understanding that.
Right. Well, they don't understand. They don't understand the concept. I mean, we all say, I want everyone to sell, and I think everybody should sell. But there's a grace of doing it by asking enough questions and seeing if what what you sell is something that the person even needs. And it's always so much more graceful to say, hey, tell me about what you do and what you sell. Let me see who I can find for you. Because then you're coming in as the buyer, not the seller anyway, which is always better. And then when it switches up and eventually they ask you, you can, sort of be more great. You can definitely be more graceful by saying, this is what I do for other kinds of folks. And if that person in front of you says, hey, we actually need that, then that's for them to do. But it also leaves them open to thinking of other people they know who do need that, and not feeling pressured and sold and smushed. And we all like to buy, we all hate to be sold. So it's finding that grace. But speaking of Jim Rohn, I don't know why he popped into my head twice, but he was a great mentor, as was my first big mentor. But he said there's two ways that you can sell more in business. One is you can talk to more people than everybody else. And he said, if I don't care if your sales pitch is, hey, you wouldn't want to buy something, would you? Because there's a certain number of people who might take pity on you and go, I don't know, what are you selling? So if you talk to more people than anybody else, even if you do it horribly, eventually you're going to get a fair amount of business. And on the other side of that is you can get better and better and better at being incredibly graceful and incredibly kind and really helping other people and coming across well. And I think that's where coaches and consultants have definitely helped me to be more graceful with those things. So I agree with you on all of that. Well, that's interesting. And I like the way that you do that. I remember Mark LeBlanc is a friend of mine out in California. He's a wonderful consultant. And he's always said, if you find your top 15, your top 25, maybe even your top 50, and contact them once a month or once a quarter, maybe it's the top 50 get contacted once a quarter and your top 15 once a month. But once you figured out who is your tribe of people where you can help them get business, they can help you get business, which I know for some of the people who are starting out, it seems like, well, I'll never get there. But you really do. But you do kiss a few frogs. You do find people that you think are going to be a great fit, and then they turn out to kind of, ghost you or not be interesting or have bad ethics you can't align yourself with. But I like the fact that you've boiled it down to people where you can really help them, they can really help you, and that John F. Kennedy line, the rising tide raises all the ships. You're really raising the bar for everybody in your network. And that is pretty darn impressive. No, I love the way you were very strategic in the way that you built a network. And yes, I think a lot of people, I certainly did that in the beginning too, just me with anybody who did anything, even if it wasn't strategic. And I see people who get into these networking groups that are very general and they're highly specific. They're only looking for people within a certain very specific market. And then they're in, a networking group that's for everybody, and you've got to give referrals all the time, and nobody can give referrals to that person. And I've been that person where everybody's like, I don't know anyone who hires speakers. I mean, they were lovely, but they're at Avon. They don't, they didn't know it had, they don't have a connection to that. So part of it is being really strategic about where you do network. I mean, you're an attorney. You can go to the big conferences and speak and be seen as the expert guy, and also, have that be that lawyer podcast and be bringing in people who are within your industry, but you're not just speaking everywhere and going everywhere and doing things in a really scattered approach, which most of us do in the beginning and then figure out that just never works. Yeah, for sure. What's your favorite bit of advice that you find yourself giving over and over and over again?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think it's come down to there's just so much stuff that we have to deal with and do every day that it's just untenable. And lawyers who have to bill, 2,000 hours a year, now they have to do, now we're saying, hey, by the way, you got to do business development, go create your own clients. On top of that, you have to manage relationships. On top of that, you want to hang with your family. You want to spend time with them. And people just don't understand the power of delegation. And I know very well that you do. You delegate everything. And I delegate everything I can.
Yeah.
And I think it's never been easier in the history of the world to delegate than it is today. Because it used to be you have to hire someone full time, have them in your office, you'd have to do this, that, and the other. And it was kind of an expense, could be an expensive endeavor, right? And now you've got, $8 to $15 an hour VAs all over the world that can handle social media, that can handle, you need a book edited, you need you just need your email, inbox cleared, whatever it might be that's dragging you down in your career or dragging you down in your business. Delegating has become one of the most important things that I find has to happen for my clients to be successful.
It's absolutely imperative. And it's one of the reasons that we end up with a whole, I think you know this, but we ended up with this whole new division at the Victory Company, which Leslie Orlaza, you always interact with her. I know she's amazing.
Yeah.
But she had this recruiting background, and every one of our clients was saying that because of the talent war in the US, they couldn't get good people. Well, Leslie happens to live in the Philippines and came to me through a friend of mine. And she's like, I was a recruiter. I can get as many people as you want. And then she's also got a training background. She's like, well, I could also train them and install them and make it a really quick, smooth transition. And here's an area of business that I would never have dreamt of, and somebody who wants to run with it. But it comes from the fact that so many people don't have that. And because of COVID, we're all much more open to, I'm sitting here in Malta. I was in France last week. I was in England a month before that. I can be wherever I want to be and wherever the work and the speaking and the consulting takes me. But there are also people all over the world who are highly qualified and may not have a lot of work in their little region of the world, who can really add a lot, like you said, anywhere from $8 to $15 or $20 an hour, and who may have 5 other clients and are happy to do 5 hours a week for you. And that, I think when we got started, certainly that was really difficult. You did have to, people all wanted full-time. They wanted you to come into an office. And now I don't think the world cares about that. In some ways, it's made it a lot easier than ever to delegate. But that was a great answer to the question. Absolutely. I think that is the number one thing, is make a list of the things that you are awful at. Make a list of the things that you just plain don't like, and then say, is it feasible to delegate this? Going to the dentist, not so much, but maybe everything else on that list could go to someone, and then you get to live your best life, as kind of our conversation earlier hit upon. Wow, that's a great answer. That's a really great answer. And I know you have great stats.
It's one that I didn't really think too much about years ago, and it's come into play where I can't effectively work myself and I can't effectively work with my clients when they're bogged down with all the day-to-day stuff that isn't really, they're again, their superpower or they're in their best interests of their time.
I think you're right. I think there's a value zone of what you love to do, what you're spectacular at, and what no one else in your company can do but you.
Yeah.
And if you're not spending 80, 90% of your time in that high value zone of the center of the bullseye, you're never going to be hitting the high notes. You're never going to be as successful as possible. You're never going to win the chili blue ribbon at the state fair, like
Right.
we all want. How did you know I make a mean chili? You got
Wait,
come
I was
on
going to
over.
say, way to bring it full circle there. Sarah.
Doing that's all the callbacks I have in me, buddy.
I love chili,
Steve.
and I love chili, and it upsets me that I have to wait until winter because my wife is very particular about there's winter food and there's summer food.
My husband, Steve, the other Steve is exactly the same way. I do make a great Italian sausage chili that I stole from Chef John, the YouTuber. Plug for Chef John, I love you. But yeah, so definitely, I was feeling you on the chili. Well, I think that's amazing. And I know you've got some things coming up. I know you have your Rainmaker Roundtable, and I adore that name. And where did that come from? And you've got that coming up, which is, I think, a great resource for who want to be more successful. And then the Be That Lawyer with Steve Fretzin right in front of me. So if people want to listen more or have a friend who's an attorney or a principal at a law firm, they can get a hold of you that way. What else, how else can people reach you? And just what else do we need to know about you in general?
Yeah, I'm helping ones that want to develop more of their own clients and want to go through a coaching and training program with me to take things to the next level and stop winging it and actually get proven, systems to use to drive results year after year. And then the folks that are already crushing it, that are just feeling like they're on an island because they can't talk about things at their firm. They don't have other, managing partners and law firm leaders to talk to and other rainmakers that are successful like them, and to be in a group every month where they can develop those relationships. More importantly, get ideas and solve problems together. That's been a breath of fresh air in my world. And I'm running a number of those groups. And the Be That Lawyer podcast is, I'm bringing on, Sarah, you're coming on soon, and I'm bringing.
I can't wait.
As many experts as I can
you.
to give advice to lawyers who want to have their best life. And it's not just about business development. It's marketing, it's time management, it's stress reduction, it's how to be a great speaker. It's all the different things that lawyers need to consider. And I absolutely love doing the show, and I love putting out that content to the legal industry. And again, if anybody wants to reach me to just have a direct conversation, my email is very easy. It's steve@fretzin.com. And I'm also big on LinkedIn, tons and tons of posts and content on LinkedIn. And you just type my name in, Steve Fretzin, into LinkedIn, and you'll find me and connect with me.
And we'll make sure that it's in the link below so that you can click right on it and get over to Steve as well. One last question, which would be, if you were giving advice to somebody who was you're in the consulting, speaking world, author, you get an up and coming talented, smart, terribly handsome. What advice that made you, he's laughing. All right. It's very true. What advice would you have for an up and coming Steve Fretzin? What would be your best advice and parting words for him or her?
Yeah. Surround yourself with really smart, bright people like you and I. And I can say that because we both are, and we both think that way about each other. And learn and take it all in. Don't feel like you have to go at it alone, and don't feel like you have to, just figure it out yourself. The best thing you can do is shortcut your career by reading books and listening to podcasts and meeting coaches and consultants and people who have been there, done that, and experienced things. And so you're not gonna make the same mistakes that we made, because you're getting better advice and you're being surrounded by the right people. And I did that quite a bit, maybe 2, 3, 4 years into my business, and it made a world of difference.
Absolutely. Me too. What a great point. What a great way to end. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's always amazing to see you, Steve Fretzin, my buddy. You're amazing and you're smart, and I love your business, and I love what you do for people, and you're always well spoken of. And I'm always honored to get to be with you virtually and in person. So thank you for being on Inspiring Victory. We help people double their business, double their impact, and change the world, which you are doing all of those things already for your clients. And thanks for being on the show. It's just lovely, lovely to see you. So
Yeah,
thanks
thank
so
you,
much.
Sarah. You're one of my favorite people, hands down.
And you're one of mine. Big hug to you. Big virtual hug to you.
Yes.
Please like, subscribe, share, write a comment. It makes a huge difference with how many people we can reach here at the Inspiring Victory Show, and it makes a big difference to me personally. I want to make sure that we're providing content to as many people as we possibly can so they can grow and succeed. So double your business, double your impact, and change the world. And thank you so much for being a part of this extraordinary community.
Let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Marites Bott of Bott & Associates.
Hi, I'm Marites Bott of Bott & Associates. We specialize in estate planning, probate, trust administration, and Medicaid planning. We work hard to help families make sure that their hard-earned assets get to their families at the right time, managed by the person that you would like it to be managed by, and handled at the very least possible cost, without the extra cost of probate and the IRS. Every day I get to work with families who are worried. What are they worried about? Well, they're worried about going broke from nursing home costs. They're worried about who will take care of their young children in case they are not around. They're also worried about potential ex-son-in-laws or ex-daughters-in-law getting their assets. Sometimes they're worried about a special needs child. Who's going to take care of them? And last, they're worried about people fighting, their families fighting over the money. I am passionate about giving our clients peace of mind that all their worries have been taken care of. When you come to our office, we guide you to make choices that are in the best interests of your loved ones. As a courtesy to our family, we provide free legacy wealth seminars. There we educate you on the difference between wills and trusts and what's best for your family. This is just free information on this topic with no obligation. Check out our website for upcoming events. I get asked a lot of times, why am I different? And how I explain that is really that I care and I listen, and I'm really empathetic to all my clients. When people come to my office, they feel that they can actually tell me about their family members and tell me all the different things that is going on, especially about the troubled ones or issues that they might be dealing with. So I'm always there to help them and hold their hand, and if there's any events in the future that can happen, I'm there as well to listen to them. So I think that's what makes me different. At the end of the day, it's all about family. When me and my family immigrated here from the Philippines, I know what the sacrifice was for my parents to make it in America. We at Bott & Associates want to help you and your family. For further information, please call us or check out our website.